Good morning, friends. Today is November 5th, and I'm your quizmaster. My name is Chandrakant, and you can attempt the questions that we provide in this quiz. The rule of the games are very simple. When the question appear on the screen, you will be given 60 seconds to not only think about your answer but also type in and send it to us, and we will then announce the winner for that particular question. All right, so let's begin our journey of improving our IQ. The first question is: in the year 1492, Christopher Columbus learns how to grow and harvest maize, which is basically corn, from which country in the New World? And the time starts now. Well, the year was 1492, and the person in question is Christopher Columbus. And remember, friends, the Europeans were not growing too much or too large quantity of the maize. However, the America is very rich in terms of soil, in terms of climate, and the staple diet in the New World, or America today, was corn, and I will tell you more about it, but let's find the answer first. It is Cuba. So, as we know that Columbus never reached the mainland America throughout his life, and when he touched down on his third journey, it was South America. So he never reached North America, he never reached America, and he actually got entangled into the Bahamas and these Caribbean islands. And Cuba is one of the large island in that area. And then Christopher Columbus and his crew learned the art of growing and cultivating maize. So, maize is a staple diet in the Americas, and also they grow so much maize that they convert most of it, almost 80 to 90% of the maize, into ethanol, and which is used as a fuel in America, also in Brazil. So, this is a nice trivia to have. Let's move on to the next question. In the year 1556, the Second Battle of Panipat, which emperor defeated by the Mughal forces, especially Emperor Akbar, and the king who lost the battle was later beheaded. So, Second Battle of Panipat, the conqueror was Emperor Akbar, and he beheads the other king who lost the battle. Who was the other king? And time starts now. So, friends, the second battle of Panipat. In fact, why Panipat has been chosen for decisive battles in India, I have no clue about that. But this is second battle of Panipat, and there was first and third as well. But during the second battle of Panipat, Akbar defeats a Hindu king in India and then beheads him. Let's find the answer to this question. It is the Hindu emperor of North India. His name was Hem Chandra Vikramaditya. He lost the battle against Akbar and then he later lost his life as well. So back in the days, this is how the battles and the emperors used to settle their score, is that they actually invite each other for battle, and then winner will take the land and the kingdom of the losing party, and also eliminates the losing party from the scene. All right, let's move to the next question. In the year 1572, which Danish astronomer observes a new star, which was actually a supernova, with a naked eye? And back in the days, they did not know that there are supernova, there are stars, there are nebulas, etc. There are other celestial objects. So when you look at something like this, you think this is a new star because supernova is shining. And therefore, in 1572, when such an incident happened, who was this Danish astronomer? And the time starts now. So this would have been a mesmerizing sight when then the this astronomer or any other people in the world who actually look at the night sky and they suddenly see a new star popping up into life and shining very brightly. And therefore, this was first observed and noted in a journal by this Danish astronomer. Let's find the answer. It is Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe was the very popular astronomer, and this was during the Johannes Kepler era. And Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler used to talk to each other and exchange notes. All right, let's move to the next question quickly. In the year 1905, which explorer reaches Eagle City in Alaska to announce to the world by a telegraph about his first expedition? And this was the attempt in 400 years to complete the Northwest Passage. So I will tell you about Northwest Passage, but let's attempt this question, and your time starts now. Okay, so now Northwest Passage is basically passage towards the west, and we are hearing a word like Alaska. That means it's on the opposite side of Europe. So it's a passage. It's a route to reach Asia via the North Sea, and then that becomes the shortest route. So let's find the answer, and then I'll tell you more about this particular voyage. It is the Roald Amundsen. Roald Amundsen actually reached Alaska and then sent a telegraph that he has actually reached Alaska and he has completed the Northwest um, Passage, discovered the passage, and then it's the shortest route from Europe to China, Europe to Asia, or China, and vice versa. And however, the Northwest Passage, which is passing through a huge ice sheet and glaciers and the North Sea, is not the most conducive, most comfortable route to have, and many sailors before Amundsen lost their life, and their ships and their crew and their bodies were lost forever, never to be recovered for at least 300 years. However, in 1905, this was broken, and finally this sailor along with his crew traversed through the Northwest Passage and successfully reach Alaska, and from there you can go to China, which is the shortest route, but then it is very difficult to go through because it's very cold and it is frozen throughout the year. So if you get stuck in the ice, instead of utilizing the shortest route, you will be spending a year surviving the ice itself. So this is not practical. That is why ships do not take that passage, even though it's a shorter one. Okay, now let's move to the next question. In the year 1925, which spy, also known as Ace of Spies, is executed in a forest near Moscow by the secret police of Soviet Union? 1925, and the time starts now. Well, way back in 1925, and this Ace of Spies, he must have been a cult figure back in the days. He was caught and executed by the Soviet secret police in a forest. Let's find the answer. This spy was a British secret agent, and his name was Sidney Riley. Sidney Riley was also known as the Ace of Spies, and he lost his life because he was captured by the Soviets. All right, let's move to the next one. In the year 1953, a film titled "How to Marry a Millionaire," directed by Jean Negulesco, and this was the first film made in CinemaScope style, starring which superstar? The first CinemaScope film in the world starring which superstar in the year 1953. Title of the film is How to Marry a Millionaire. Time starts now. How to Marry a Millionaire. Obviously, the title suggests that this must be a female-oriented movie because How to Marry a Millionaire. Obviously, that's a sort of it gives a hint that the woman is trying to marry a millionaire man. But who was starring in this movie, which was the first CinemaScope format movie? Let's find the answer. It is Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was the lead in this movie, and in this movie, she was probably trying to marry or seduce a millionaire. And important thing is, this is the first CinemaScope film which was shot. And if you don't know what is CinemaScope, very short description: it's a long format that you normally see in theater. You know, the long format screens, and this was the first movie shot in that format. Let's move to the next question quickly. In the year 1968, Republican candidate Richard Nixon is elected President of the United States, defeating which presidential candidate? So, who did Nixon defeat? And the time starts now. This was an era when there was Kennedy was assassinated, and then Nixon came, who was very powerful president, and then he also got sort of entangled in many controversies. But let's find the answer to this question. It is the Hubert Humphrey and the independent candidate George Wallace. So these two important presidential candidates were defeated by Nixon to become the President of United States in the year 1968. Now let's move on to the next question quickly. In the year 2007, what is the name of the China's first lunar satellite that goes into orbit around the moon? Simple. And the time starts. What is the name of the China's moon mission which actually went into orbit in 2007? Let's find the answer. It is Chang'e-1. That's the name of the Chinese probe. We know that China has also made a soft landing on the surface of the moon, which is not very easy because moon does not have any atmosphere. So you can't use any conventional method of landing that we have practiced on Earth. Using the atmosphere to slow down the spacecraft upon return, use parachute, etc. None of these things works on the surface of the moon. So it is rather difficult to land on moon because there is no atmosphere. That one thing makes the landing so difficult. But there are only 4 nations which have achieved this feat, China being the third one, India being the fourth one. Now let's go to the next question. In the year 2018, BBC opens its largest news bureau outside of the UK. Which country was this? And this new unit had 300 journalists working for BBC. Which country did they open this largest unit of BBC outside of UK? And time starts now. Well, BBC is a very UK-centric company. They, although do reporting across the world, but then rely on the, bureau news items, which they convert into some sort of content and produce it. They have, correspondents spread across the world, but they do not have a proper functioning offices in all the countries. However, when they opened the largest center outside of UK with 300 journals operating from that office, it was a global news. Let's find the answer. It is in Nairobi in Kenya. If you have traveled to Kenya or the Eastern African nations, they are sort of very heavily colonized, much more colonized as compared to India. And the people in Kenya and the Eastern African nations, the local population speaks perfect Victorian English because that is what was taught to them during the Victorian era, and they picked up those languages. So the way we speak in other colonies, even in UK, people speak differently, but the people in Kenya use a Victorian language, very long sentences, with a lot of etiquettes and those kind of language they still use. So it is very comfortable for UK people in UK must be feeling at home when they set up their businesses in countries like Kenya. So this is a big news way back in 2018. Let's see if we have more questions left for today. Okay, so in 2018, which probe leaves the solar system to become the second human-made object to reach the interstellar space? Very simple, and time starts now. So friends, we know that there are only two objects that have left the solar system, and these two objects are man-made. So although there are natural objects maybe going back and forth all the time, but these are two man-made objects which have traveled so far away that they have actually entered the interstellar space. What is interstellar space? Interstellar space is the space between the stars, and it is outside the influence of the star. So let's find the answer, then I'll tell you more about the this particular incident. It is the Voyager 2. Voyager 2 also, just like Voyager 1, left into the interstellar space, and in order to cross over from the solar system into interstellar space, there is a bit of a shock which is known as bow shock, and then the spacecraft actually cross over into interstellar space where there is more radiation, the temperatures are higher, so the magnetic wind or the solar wind actually protects inner of the solar system from this interstellar radiation which is trying to enter. So this bow shock was experienced by both Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, and this Voyager 2 became the second man-made object to cross over after experiencing the bow shock and cross over into interstellar space in the year 2018. Alright, let's see if we have questions left. Okay, so we have run out of questions. So friends, thanks for joining me live. Join me back again tomorrow at 8:30 for the daily dose of trivia. Bye for now.